Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Halo Chronicle. This is part 8 in my series chronicling the fall of the Forerunner Ecumene. If you have not seen parts 1 through 7, I highly recommend you go check those out first, as today's video will be a continuation of those parts. Last time, we discussed the biggest betrayal in the history of the Forerunners. Mendicant Bias, a highly advanced Forerunner AI meant to coordinate Forerunner defense, betrayed and attacked the Forerunner capital of Maithrillian. It would fire a Halo installation in the Forerunner capital system, which would completely cripple Forerunner governance. We would also discuss Bornstellar and his harrowing escape from this awful attack, the results of which would cause the imprint of the Didact inside him to awaken. He would become the IsoDidact. He would gain the Didact's memories about the Primordial and find that it was the true threat. Today we're going to discuss the aftermath of this attack on the capital and the attempted recovery of the rogue Halo installation. With that being said, let's jump into it. Following the devastating attack on the Forerunner capital, the Forerunners would regroup and create a new council. This new council would appoint the IsoDidact as the protector of the Ecumene. In this role, the IsoDidact would have complete control of all Forerunner defenses. The IsoDidact's first objective would be to recapture the rogue Halo installation responsible for the attack on the capital. The rogue Halo made an emergency slip space jump following the assault on the Forerunner capital world. This slip space jump was triggered as a part of a Failsafe protocol enacted by several Forerunners stationed on the ring. This Failsafe protocol would put the Halo on a collision course with a planet in order to stop it from doing any more damage. These Forerunners would then rebel against Mendicant Bias and its new master, the Timeless One. In response, Mendicant Bias would release all of the Flood specimens stored on the Halo for study. The Flood would quickly overwhelm and consume these Forerunners. In order to save the rogue Halo from certain destruction, Mendicant Bias and the Timeless One would recruit several populations of humans that were stored on the Halo. They would use the essences of ancient humans stored on the Halo to convince these humans to assist them with their cause. Mendicant Bias would use many manipulative tactics to ensure the cooperation of the humans. Chakas and Riser were among the humans recruited. Mendicant Bias would send humans to different strategic points all across the Halo. Using a combination of Forerunner tech and Flood biomass, the humans were essentially merged into the Halo systems. This would allow them to pilot and move the ring at will. The objective became to move the Halo into such a position that the planet would pass through the ring. This was a near suicidal mission, as the tidal and gravitational forces put on the Halo would undoubtedly cause massive amounts of damage. As Mendicant Bias's team attempted to begin this chaotic maneuver, the IsoDidact and his forces located the rogue Halo. They would bring with them a powerful war fleet. The IsoDidact would disable Mendicant Bias and take control of the Halo. Using a combination of the integrated humans and his war fleet, the IsoDidact was able to successfully guide the planet through the Halo. But the rough nature of this passage caused major damage to the Halo. Using hard light and a temporal field, the IsoDidact was able to keep the Halo intact, but there were several sections of the ring that were damaged beyond repair. The IsoDidact would force the Halo to eject and remove multiple damaged panels. This would reduce the Halo's size from 30,000 kilometers to 10,000 kilometers, which restored the ring's structural integrity. This also made it to where the Halo could utilize the lesser arc for repairs if needed. However, many Forerunners still were unaware of the existence of the lesser arc at this time. The human known as Chakas, who accompanied Bornstellar on Erde Tyrene and assisted him with the revival of the Didact, would be gravely injured during his time on the rogue Halo. In an effort to save his friend, the IsoDidact would order that Chakas be composed and his essence be stored in a Forerunner attendant called a monitor. Chakas' consciousness and memories would be present in this monitor. Chakas would then be referred to as Monitor Chakas. After waiting a short time for Monitor Chakas to recover, the IsoDidact and Monitor Chakas would be taken to a chamber deep beneath the surface of the Halo. This chamber would house the recaptured Timeless One. The Timeless One, now confirmed to be the Primordial, would be trapped in a temporal stasis field awaiting a historic interrogation. While Monitor Chakas observed, the IsoDidact began his interrogation of this monstrous creature. Sometime during its time on the Halo, the Primordial would merge with the Flood and become the first Flood gravemind. At the beginning of this interrogation, the Primordial revealed that it was the last living precursor and spoke with the authority of the precursors. The Primordial would then reveal that the Flood was enacting the will of the precursors for vengeance on the Forerunners. The IsoDidact would seek to know why the precursors would be seeking vengeance on the Forerunners. The Primordial would reveal what the IsoDidact long suspected. The Forerunners rebelled against and killed the precursors in a horrible genocidal campaign. When the IsoDidact asked the Primordial why the Forerunners would do this, the Primordial would reply with an answer that would attack the fundamental beliefs of the Forerunners. The Primordial would respond by stating that the precursors found through long study that the Forerunners were unworthy of inheriting the mantle of responsibility. The precursors planned to pass the mantle to another species, humanity. This disturbing interrogation would conclude with one of the most demoralizing and disturbing truths being revealed. The Primordial would reveal that there was no cure for the Flood, and there never was. It would state that the Flood voluntarily retreated during the Forerunner-Human War. The Flood, and by extension the precursors, had made a decision that humanity would be the next species to be tested to see if they were worthy of receiving the mantle of responsibility. To ensure the survival of humanity, the Flood retreated, giving the Forerunners the impression that there was a possible cure. This also had the added benefit of making the Forerunners waste precious time and resources searching for a cure that never truly existed. This revelation would send the IsoDidact into an uncontrollable rage. He would order that millions of years of time be forced through the temporal stasis field surrounding the Primordial. Within an instant, the Primordial went from a fully formed monstrous creature to a mere pile of dust. Following the Primordial's interrogation, the IsoDidact would interrogate Mendicant Bias. Mendicant Bias would state that during its 43-year-long interrogation of the Primordial, it would reveal that it was the last precursor. After searching the domain for validation, Mendicant Bias would discover information that would confirm this story. After confirming that the Primordial spoke with the authority of all precursors, Mendicant Bias came to the conclusion that Forerunners were holding the universe back from its next stage of evolution, in the Flood. The Forerunners would call this philosophical corruption the Logic Plague. The IsoDidact would use Failsafe codes to completely deactivate Mendicant Bias. Following its deactivation, the IsoDidact ordered that Mendicant Bias be broken down into its basic component parts and scattered across the ecumene for further study. The hope was that the Forerunners could find a cure for this logic plague and stop it from infecting other Ancillae. Though this was seen as a brilliant victory for the IsoDidact, it came at a great cost. This would be seen as a turning point in the Forerunner-Flood War. The defeat of the Primordial was supposed to lead to the end of the conflict, but with the revelation that there was no cure for the Flood, and the destruction of most of the senescent Halo array, a demoralizing effect would begin to take hold of the Forerunners. The Flood's next move would further compound this increasingly dire situation. The Flood would reawaken and seize control of something the Forerunners didn't expect and were never prepared for. This is going to complete today's chapter of this epic story. Before I leave you, let me share some interesting facts about the Rogue Halo. This Rogue Halo is the only remaining Halo installation of the senescent Halo array that still exists today. This Halo is the first Halo to ever be fired as a part of a test in the Cherome Hakor system. One final fact is that we have been to and played on this Halo recently. This is Installation 07, aka Zeta Halo. It is the very same Halo that we explore in Halo Infinite. If you guys like these type of fun facts, please let me know and I may continue to do them in future videos. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoy this content, please don't be afraid to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Part 9 will be coming next week. That video will chronicle the return of the Didact and the harrowing events that led him back to the Forerunner Ecumene. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.